What's up, everybody? We finally made it home back to Portland. Let me tell you, that was a very taxing trip. Oscar and I mapped out everything, and we believe that we did between 8,500 and 9,000 miles of travel between doing the whole thing. Granted, the first 18 hours was in the trailer down to Tucson, but the rest of it in the drift car with a 4-inch straight exhaust was not the most pleasant thing overall. But the one thing that I'm really happy with is we didn't get pulled over once, and we didn't really have any major issues outside of the bolt coming out in the tranny on the Texas event, and so the car held strong the whole way, and I'm really happy with that. Now, the entire time was very hot for me. I remember that I asked Aaron Losey before we went the trip, what's the weather like at all these places? And he said, long sleeve shirt and pants most of the time. That was the biggest damn lie I've ever heard in my life, because I was sweating, drenched the entire time until we got back up north. So getting back into the Portland area with 45 degrees and rain wasn't so bad after all. But we made it home. We decided that in Norfolk, we rented a car and we drove the straight 45 hours home between sleeping in the back seat and then driving like 6 to 8 hour stints in between. And we did. We made it in 45 hours. So that was not the greatest idea, but it's just glad to be home after the 3 weeks of being gone. Definitely had a lot of fun on the trip, but it is the most taxing thing I've done to my body since getting out of the Navy. It's constant work, constant grind, arriving at the next track at 3, 4 in the morning, and then using all your energy to drive all day. So yeah, it was quite interesting. But I want to take this time to thank, all my sponsors, because the trip couldn't have been done without these guys. The car was built based on either the parts or the money that was received from these guys to help us get along the way, and nothing of those components broke along the trip. So first off, SV Performance, we work hand in hand with each other in the same shop, and Oscar and Scott had helped me build this car from ground up. I think about 6 months ago now is when we started it, and then we did some finalization to it before we went on Drift Week with the new full built bottom end, and then some of the suspension mods and things like that. So we really cleaned it up as well. All new braided lines, really went 100% to make sure that it was reliable along the way, and I could not have done it without those guys. And especially Oscar coming on the trip with me. Like, granted, I didn't have all the issues, but to know that he was there if anything did happen, except for that one day in Texas where we had to pull the tranny, that only took us a couple hours to get the job done, and he definitely made it easy on myself. Now, granted, some of the other guys that had issues, with our group, how it kind of worked, we all just wanted to help each other out, and so a lot of times the car was fine for us, and we went and helped them out and got them back on the road, and that's where Oscar came in clutch. He got it done for us quick. We did it right, and it was just an easy travel for everybody. Next, I'd like to talk about Stance Suspension. I did get hit up by Stance a little while ago, and they hooked me up with some coilovers. Hands down, I've went through a lot of coilovers in my life, and I've had no issues with them. They ran perfectly fine. The compression, under load, everything feels really good. I highly recommend them to anybody that's in the drift community that wants something custom set up to their car. Me personally, I run the 24 and 8K spring rating, which is a recommendation from Andy Gray. That's a great decision. Especially in the big body cars, you really want to have a higher spring rate up front and a lower in the back, so you have good momentum and a push when you're in a squat. So Stance Suspension, check them out. That's the way to go. Next, I would like to talk about Toge Factory. We had talked about sponsorship about, I think, a year ago now, and these guys have helped me out. I'd say 3/4 of the parts that are on my car right now have been sourced from them. They've always been on top of the game. I speak with one of the managers directly, and he's always been, right there, got the parts out within a couple days. They're at my door, and I know it's not just a special treatment for me, but he's like that with virtually anybody that's going to them for parts. I would say their company's really on top of it with keeping stuff in stock for anything they get from Japan, or if it's stuff that they have overnighted or shipped within a couple days, they have good communications with all the companies they work with. So highly recommend checking out Toge Factory. They'll literally have almost anything you need JDM related, and it's definitely a choice you can't go wrong with. So on the trip, I used Valino Tires, which I have been using them for the last couple of years. And when I made the switch from what I used before to Valino, best tire that I've ever been on. I've been through quite a few. I've been through Kendas, I've been through Cosmos, and the price in comparison to the grip and the longevity of how they last on the track has been significantly different for me than any other tire I've used before. This trip specifically, we turned my car down to 550 horsepower so that way we can run the Griva, and I found that to be a little bit more convenient to run with guys who weren't as fast as my car, so then we could have good close tandems, and it was a lot easier rather than just riding your clutch all the time on like a 200 turbo per Kia. So yeah, we ran Grivas the whole time, even when we ran compact clutch kickers, and that was a really good choice. And for me, I only went through 4 tires a day at each track day, which is really good for tire wear. I know some of the pavements of the tracks were new and they were good on tires to begin with, but for me just to know that I overbooked tires that I didn't need was really a win in the end. So I highly recommend Valino Tire to anybody, and specifically Cameron Moore for Valino Tire Northwest. He handles everybody in the Pacific Northwest region. Hit him up and they're going to square you away on literally everything you need. Alright, before the trip started, I wanted to get a new livery design on my car, which was definitely a center of attention. As you may know, it looks really good. I'm very nitpicky about how I want my car to look. To have the laminate on the livery, everything turned out really well, especially with the design. As you may know by now, I do like to watch a lot of Japanese anime, which is why I put Ria Scrimmy on the side of my car. But the guys down at Tailored Auto Styling definitely hooked it up. They got it done really quick for me, and when it came to getting the wrap on, it was same day, it was ready to go. And I know I'm hard to work with on some scenarios because I have a timeline with everything, and no hesitation, they got the job done very well. So check out Tailored Auto Styling for any of your livery or wraps or tinting needs. Those are the guys to go to, local here in Portland. About Rockwood Liquor, we had talked in the past. One of their guys had bought a car for me, and he said he wanted to sponsor me, so I thought that was really cool, and they helped out with some of the financials that we needed to support, how much money it actually costs to run this car the way it does now. So I would check out Rockwood Liquor. They're local in Gresham. We all know that everybody in the drift community, as soon as the drifting stops, we're ready to turn up a little bit to the bottle, so check those guys out. So on the trip, I actually did not do any of my own video editing because I actually don't know what the hell I'm doing with it. So lucky for me, Ian from Team Taneshimo hooked it up, and I sent him all my footage, and he was able to sort through all my nonsense and get these videos up for me, so I couldn't thank him enough. And it's actually, I'm at their house right now. As you can see, James's car, you can't really see it. Ian's car is right next to me, half torn apart, getting his new upgrade. You'll want to see that in the future. I'd say give it a couple months or so, but it's going to be hot when it's done. As some of you may know, I do run Link ECU and firmly stand by them. Super happy with how the Link has always been to me. And one thing that I actually got hit up for is a digital dash by Powertune, and they had sponsored me a dash, and at first I didn't really know what I was doing. I had heard about it from a buddy in Japan. He said he run it and there was a lot of customizations to it, so I ended up getting my hands on one, and hands down I'm super happy. It is literally half the cost of what you would normally find something out there outside of just buying a normal tablet. And there's so much you can do, even having your start screen come up with whatever you want, whether you have a picture of your cute child, who knows. But yeah, super happy. Definitely check out those guys. It plugs right into Link ECU. It has GPS if you want it. There's like 2 packages. I believe the GPS is only like $50 more. So it was good for us on this road trip to be able to know how fast we were going. And Oscar was able to reset it once we changed diffs and get it online. So that was pretty neat. Another company I'd like to talk about is Auto Kings. And this is a company I've worked closely with for the last few years because I don't deal in US domestic cars by any means. So when it came to trade-ins, they always would take them over for me. Now, I stand by them because they actually do really good quality cars. They're not your typical shady salesman that you'd find up and down in McLaughlin or Southeast Portland or something. They actually truly go out of state, find good cars, and then they're well renowned for it. And I would recommend anybody in the drift scene, we all know that you don't want to daily drive your drift car, so I would check them out. They'll hook you up with a sweet deal on whatever it is, whether you want like a winter car, a truck, or just a general sedan car that you want to put around in and get good gas mileage. So check those guys out, Auto Kings. They're located in Bend, Oregon. Lastly, I want to talk about something I'm super happy about, and that is my full custom engine harness by Panic Wire. I had given the measurements that I wanted to Mark Panic a few months back before Pro-Am started. He pumped it out for me really quickly, and by the time that I actually received the harness, it was just beautiful. The whole thing lined up, every single wire to every location where I wanted it to. It was in a perfect position. It wasn't too long, there wasn't a lot of extra slack, and it wasn't short by any means. It was just like, it all flowed great. So I would check out him for any of your wiring harness needs. He's local here in Portland, and check out his website, which will be right here, somewhere over there, somewhere on the screen, you know what I mean, but at panicmade.com. Have a good night, guys.